My name is Marcus Chen. I'm 36 years old. And I'm sitting here today to tell you a story that I never thought would happen to me. A story that absolutely shattered my entire world into a million pieces. A story about betrayal, about conspiracy, about organized crime, and most importantly, about the people we trust the most with our hearts and our lives. But before I dive into what happened, before I take you through the events that changed everything, I need you to understand where I came from. I need you to understand my life before everything fell apart. I need you to understand my journey because that's the only way you'll truly understand the magnitude of what I'm about to tell you. Because this isn't just about money. This isn't just about crime. This is about love and betrayal and trust and everything that was taken from me. I grew up in a middle-class household in suburban Chicago in a neighborhood called Oak Park. My father was an engineer. He worked for a major construction company. My mother was a nurse at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. We weren't rich. We weren't poor. We were comfortable. We had a roof over our heads. We had food on the table every single night. We had everything we needed. But more importantly, we had love. We had family. We had each other. My father was a hard-working man. He would leave for work early in the morning, around 6:30. He would come home late at night, around 6 or 7 in the evening. But no matter how tired he was, no matter what kind of day he had, he would sit at the dinner table with us. He would ask my mother about her day at the hospital. He would ask me about school. He would share stories about the construction projects he was working on. He would talk about the challenges he faced and how he overcame them. He taught me about perseverance. He taught me about integrity. He taught me about honesty. My mother was a woman of great compassion. She was a cardiac nurse, so she dealt with life and death situations every single day. She would come home and tell us stories about her patients. She would tell us about the people she had helped. She would tell us about the families she had supported. She taught me about empathy. She taught me about caring for others. She taught me that helping people is one of the most important things you can do with your life. When I was 12 years old, my father gave me a piece of advice that I have carried with me my entire life. He sat me down in his study and he said, "Marcus, reputation is everything." He said, once you lose someone's trust, you can never get it back. You can never repair that damage. He said, it takes years to build trust, but only seconds to destroy it. He said, be honest with people. Be true to your word. Be reliable. Be someone that people can count on. If you do those things, you will have something that no amount of money can buy. You will have respect. You will have a good reputation. People will want to be around you. People will want to do business with you. People will want to be your friends. I believed him. I lived by that principle my entire life. I was a boy who valued honesty above almost everything else. I was a boy who understood the importance of keeping your word. I was a boy who believed that the world was fundamentally a good place. I believed that if you treated people right, they would treat you right. I believed in the basic goodness of human nature. Looking back now, I realize how naive I was. But at the time, I was just a kid trying to live by the principles my father taught me. I went to Northwestern University for college. It's a prestigious university located in Evanston, just north of Chicago. I studied computer science. I was good at it. I loved the logic of it. I loved the problem-solving aspect. I loved the creativity involved in writing code. I loved the fact that you could build something from nothing. You could start with a blank screen and create something that could help people. Something that could solve problems. Something that had real value in the world. I graduated with honors from Northwestern. I had a 4.0 GPA. I had job offers from multiple tech companies. I chose to accept a position at a mid-sized tech company called Tech Core Solutions. They offered me a position as a senior software engineer. The salary was $80,000 a year. It was good money. It was more than my father ever made at any point in his career. I was proud of that. I felt like I was on track. I felt like my life was going in the right direction. I felt like I was fulfilling my potential. I moved into an apartment in Chicago. I lived alone for the first time in my life. I bought furniture. I bought a car. I established myself as an independent adult. I went to work every single day and I did my job well. I was reliable. I was competent. I was someone that my coworkers could count on. I was building a good reputation at Tech Core Solutions. I was on a path to success. I thought my life was going to continue on this upward trajectory forever. And then I met Jennifer. It was at a coffee shop called Brew Haven near my office. This coffee shop was my regular spot. I went there every single morning at 7:30. I had been going there for almost 2 years. I was a creature of habit. I was very predictable. I went to the same coffee shop every day and I ordered the same drink every single day. Medium Americano, no sugar, no cream. I knew the baristas by name. They knew me by name. They knew my order before I even said it. One morning when I walked in, there was a woman I had never seen before standing in line. She was tall and graceful. She had long dark hair and beautiful brown eyes. She was wearing a professional outfit, a blazer and slacks. She looked like someone important. She looked like someone with purpose. She ordered a caramel macchiato with oat milk. The barista, whose name was Tommy, made her drink. He called out her name when her drink was ready, but then he called out my name as well. He handed me a caramel macchiato with oat milk instead of my usual Americano. I looked down at my drink. I looked at the woman. She looked at me. We both laughed. I said, "I think this one's yours." She said, "I think you're absolutely right." I handed her my drink and she handed me hers. We didn't leave the coffee shop right away. We stood there and we talked. She told me that her name was Jennifer. She told me that she worked as a management consultant for one of the biggest consulting firms in Chicago. The firm was called McKinsey & Company. She told me that she had gone to Michigan State University for her business school degree. She told me that she had been working at McKinsey for 5 years. She told me that she loved her job, but that it was incredibly demanding. She told me that she barely had time to breathe, let alone have a personal life. She told me that she had been single for the past 2 years because her job took up so much of her time and energy. I told her that I worked in tech. I told her that I was a senior software engineer at TechCore Solutions. I told her that my job was also incredibly demanding. I told her that I also barely had time to breathe. I told her that I often worked late into the evening and on weekends. We bonded over our exhausting careers. We bonded over our mutual understanding of what it meant to work in demanding industries. We bonded over the fact that we were both ambitious people who had sacrificed a lot for our careers. Before she left the coffee shop that morning, Jennifer gave me her business card. She said, "You should call me sometime. We should get coffee again. Actual coffee, not the kind where we accidentally swap drinks." I called her that same evening. I was nervous when I called her. I hadn't dated anyone in over a year. I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing, but I called her anyway. She answered on the third ring. She sounded happy to hear from me. We talked for 30 minutes on the phone. We made plans to have dinner together the next evening. We had dinner at a small Italian restaurant called Rosebud in the city. It was a charming restaurant with dim lighting and candlelit tables. It was the kind of place that was meant for romantic dinners. We talked for hours. We talked until the restaurant was closing and the staff was starting to put chairs up on the tables. We talked about our families. We talked about our childhood experiences. We talked about our dreams for the future. We talked about our fears and our insecurities. I told her about my father. I told her that he had passed away 3 years earlier from a sudden heart attack. I told her that I had been very close to him. I told her that losing him had been the hardest thing I had ever experienced. I told her that I had spent the past 3 years trying to process my grief. I told her that I had seen a therapist to help me deal with his death. I told her that I still missed him every single day. Jennifer told me about her parents. She told me that they were still alive, but that they had a very difficult relationship with her. She told me that her mother was judgmental and critical. She told me that her father was cold and distant. She told me that she had always felt like she was never quite good enough for them. She told me that she had spent most of her life trying to earn their approval and acceptance. She told me that her hard work and her success at McKinsey had been driven by a desire to prove to her parents that she was worthy of their love. I understood that. I understood how that felt. I told her that I was sorry about her relationship with her parents. I told her that I thought she was an amazing person and that her parents were lucky to have her. She started crying when I said that. She reached across the table and held my hand. We sat there for a long time, just holding hands, not saying anything. Later that night, when I walked her to her car, I kissed her. It was one of the best kisses of my life. It felt like everything clicked into place. It felt like the universe had finally given me something good. It felt like my life was about to change for the better. And I was right. My life did change, but not in the way I expected. We started dating seriously after that first dinner. We went on dates every single weekend. We went to movies and restaurants and museums. We took walks along Lake Michigan and watched the sunset together. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. We shared our deepest thoughts and our biggest fears. We got to know each other deeply. We became vulnerable with each other. We let each other into our hearts. After 6 months of dating, I decided that I wanted to ask her to move in with me. I was nervous about asking. I was worried that she might think it was too fast. But I couldn't imagine my life without her. Every day that I wasn't with her felt incomplete. So I asked her. She said yes. She moved out of her apartment and moved into mine. We started building a life together. A year after she moved in with me, I decided that I wanted to ask her to marry me. I planned it very carefully. I saved up money for an engagement ring. I wanted it to be special. I wanted it to be memorable. I decided to take her back to the coffee shop where we had met. I wanted to recreate that moment. I wanted to show her that the moment we met was so important to me that I wanted to ask her to marry me in that same place. I went to Brewhaven early one Saturday morning. I told the barista Tommy what I was planning to do. He was excited to help. He agreed to make everything special. When Jennifer arrived, I was already there waiting for her. I had ordered our drinks, her caramel macchiato with oat milk and my Americano. But when she picked up her drink, I got down on one knee. I pulled out the engagement ring. I looked her in the eye and I said, "Jennifer, I love you more than anything in the world. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" She cried. She said yes. She said yes over and over again. Everyone in the coffee shop was watching and they all started applauding. It was one of the most perfect moments of my entire life. We were married a year later. The wedding was small but beautiful. We had about 100 people there. My mother was there. Her parents were there. Though they seemed cold and distant as always. My best friends were there. My co-workers were there. We got married in a small church in Chicago and then had the reception at a nice restaurant. We danced and we laughed and we celebrated our love. It was perfect. The first few years of our marriage were absolutely beautiful. We bought a house together in the suburbs. It was a 2-story house with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. We painted the walls. We bought furniture. We made it into a home. We would come home from work and cook dinner together. We would sit on the couch and watch movies together. We would make love. We would dream about the future. We talked about having children someday. We talked about maybe buying a bigger house with a backyard where our kids could play. We talked about traveling to Europe. We talked about growing old together and retiring somewhere warm. I loved her so much. I trusted her completely. I would have done anything for her. I would have given her anything. She was my partner. She was my best friend. She was the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. But then, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, things started to change. Jennifer's job became more and more demanding. She was promoted to senior consultant at McKinsey. With that promotion came a significant increase in responsibility. She was given bigger clients. She was expected to travel more. She was expected to work longer hours. She was constantly stressed about her projects. She was constantly worried about her performance reviews. She would travel for weeks at a time. She would fly to different cities to work on client projects. New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Boston. She was gone so much that I barely saw her. When she was home, she was exhausted. She would come home at 10 or 11 at night. She would barely eat dinner. She would go straight to bed. She didn't have time for me. We stopped having date nights. We stopped cooking together. We stopped making love. We were living in the same house, but we were living separate lives. I tried to talk to her about it. I asked her if everything was okay. She said yes, everything was fine. She was just stressed about work. I asked her if there was anything I could do to help. She said no. She just needed some time to adjust to the new role. I believed her. I tried to be supportive. I gave her space. I let her focus on her career. I told myself that this was temporary. I told myself that once she got settled in her new role, things would get better. I told myself that we would find our way back to each other. But the distance was growing. I could feel it. Every single day the gap between us was widening. We were drifting apart slowly but inevitably. I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't know how to reach her. I felt like I was losing my wife and I didn't know why. I felt like I was losing my marriage and there was nothing I could do to prevent it. During this time, I didn't know about David. I didn't know that Jennifer was traveling to cities where she would meet with him in person. I didn't know that her late nights at the office were actually late nights at hotels with him. I didn't know that she was lying to me every single day. I didn't know that my marriage was a complete and total lie. But looking back now, there were signs. Of course there were signs. There are always signs when someone is cheating on you. There are always little things that don't quite add up. There's always something that seems off. The way she would immediately put her phone face down on the table when I walked into a room. The way she would suddenly need to leave the house for work emergencies at odd hours. The way she would get defensive if I asked any questions about her day. The way she would seem emotionally distant but somehow still physically present. The way she would suddenly become very protective of her phone. The way she would check her phone constantly, even during dinner. But I didn't want to see those signs. I didn't want to believe that my wife was cheating on me. I didn't want to believe that my marriage was failing. I didn't want to believe that the woman I had promised to spend the rest of my life with was betraying me. So I ignored the signs. I convinced myself that everything was fine. I convinced myself that the stress was temporary. I convinced myself that things would get better. I convinced myself that I was just being paranoid. I convinced myself that a marriage goes through phases. I convinced myself that all couples go through difficult periods. They don't always come out the other side together. And then, one day, on a Tuesday morning in late October, I received a letter. It was from a law firm called Hayes & Associates. The law firm is located in downtown Chicago, in a prestigious building on Michigan Avenue. The letter was addressed to me. My name was printed on an expensive envelope. I opened it carefully. The letter informed me that my Uncle Richard had passed away. I hadn't seen my uncle in over 10 years. He had had a falling out with my father when I was in college. My father never talked about what the falling out was about. My mother refused to even speak his name. She would get angry if I asked questions about him. As far as I knew, my uncle was a successful businessman who lived somewhere out east. Connecticut, I think. Or maybe Rhode Island. I knew very little about him. I had very few memories of him. And now he was dead. But the letter said something else. The letter said that I had been named as the primary beneficiary of his estate. The letter said that the estate was significant. The letter said that there was a considerable amount of money involved. The letter said that I needed to contact the law firm immediately to discuss my inheritance. I was confused. I was also suspicious. This seemed too good to be true. How could I possibly be the primary beneficiary of my uncle's estate? We barely knew each other. He had been estranged from my father for years. He had never contacted me directly. He had never sent me birthday gifts or Christmas cards. He was a ghost in my life. Why would he leave his entire estate to me? But I was curious. I was intrigued. So I called the number on the letterhead that very morning. I dialed it from my office at TechCore Solutions. The receptionist answered. She had a pleasant voice. She said that Mr. Hayes had been expecting my call. She transferred me to him immediately. I didn't even have to wait on hold. Thomas Hayes was a senior partner at the firm. He had a deep, gravelly voice that suggested years of experience and thousands of hours spent in law libraries and courtrooms. He told me that he was honored to meet me, even if it was just over the phone. He told me that my Uncle Richard had been one of his most important clients. He told me that he had worked with my uncle for over 30 years. He told me that my uncle had been a very successful real estate developer. He had developed shopping centers and office buildings and residential complexes. He had made very smart investment decisions. He had diversified his portfolio. He had accumulated a significant fortune over his lifetime. He told me that my Uncle Richard had no children. He had never been married. He had no spouse. He had been estranged from my father for many years, ever since they had a serious disagreement about business matters. But despite the estrangement, my uncle had kept tabs on my father over the years. He had kept tabs on me. He knew that I had gone to Northwestern University. He knew that I had become a software engineer. He knew that I had gotten married. He knew that I had bought a house. He knew details about my life that I had never told him directly. He must have been getting this information through intermediaries or through private investigators or something like that. Mr. Hayes said that when my father passed away 5 years ago, my uncle made a decision. He decided that I deserved his fortune. He decided that I was the only person worthy of managing the wealth that he had accumulated over his lifetime. He decided to leave his entire estate to me. How much are we talking about? I asked him, my voice shaking slightly. There was a pause on the other end of the line. I heard Mr. Hayes take a deep breath. Then he said, approximately $28 million. I nearly dropped the phone. I asked him to repeat that. He said it again, $28 million. That number was so enormous that it didn't even register as real. It was like he was speaking a foreign language. It was like he was telling me that I had won the lottery. It was like my entire net worth had just increased by more than 80 times. My mind was spinning. I was sitting at my desk at TechCore Solutions and my mind was absolutely spinning. $28 million. I had $28 million. Or at least I was about to have $28 million. It was real. It was actually real. Mr. Hayes explained that the money was held in a trust. He explained that my signature was required for any transfers of funds. He explained that nobody else could access the money without my consent. He explained that this was very serious and very real. He explained that there would be paperwork involved, there would be legal documents, there would be tax implications. There would be financial advisors involved. But the bottom line was simple. The money was mine, all $28 million, and I could do whatever I wanted with it. He asked me to come to his office to sign some initial paperwork. He said it was very important that we meet in person. He said that there were sensitive matters to discuss. He said that I needed to understand the legal framework around the inheritance. I made an appointment to see him 3 days later. During those 3 days, I was in a state of absolute shock. I couldn't focus on anything. I went to work, but I didn't do any actual work. I just sat at my desk and thought about what $28 million meant. It meant that I didn't have to work anymore. It meant that Jennifer didn't have to work anymore. It meant that we could travel the world. It meant that we could live however we wanted. It meant that we could start a charity. It meant that we could change people's lives. It meant that our entire future had just been transformed. But I decided not to tell Jennifer right away. I don't know exactly why I made that decision. I can't articulate it perfectly. Some instinct in me said to wait. Some part of me wanted to understand what was happening before I shared the information with her. I know now that I should have trusted that instinct. I know now that instinct was trying to protect me. But at the time, I just thought I should verify everything first. I thought I should make sure that it was all real before I told my wife. When I finally met with Mr. Hayes in person, everything became real. I signed documents. I met with financial advisors named Sarah Chen and Robert King. I learned about tax implications and investment strategies and wealth management. I learned about different types of investment vehicles. I learned about diversification. I learned about risk management. By the end of the day, I was officially $28 million richer. It was real. It was actually real. The money was in accounts that I could access. The money was mine. I drove home in a daze that evening. I pulled into my driveway and I sat in my car for 10 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. I tried to make sense of it. I tried to wrap my head around the magnitude of the change that had just occurred in my life. When I finally walked inside, Jennifer was already home. She was sitting on the couch in our living room, waiting for me. There was something in her expression that I couldn't quite identify. She looked nervous. She looked scared. She looked like she was about to tell me something very important. "Marcus," she said, "we need to talk." My stomach immediately dropped. Nobody says we need to talk unless something is wrong. The phrase "we need to talk" is one of the most ominous phrases in the English language. It means that someone has done something wrong. It means that someone has made a terrible mistake. It means that the speaker is about to deliver bad news. I sat down next to her on the couch. I asked her what was going on. She took a very deep breath. She said, "Before you tell me about your inheritance, I need to tell you something. I need to tell you about someone. His name is David." My blood went cold. I asked her to explain. She told me everything. She told me about the affair. She told me that it had been going on for 3 years. 3 years. That meant that she had been with this man for almost half of our marriage. That meant that she had been lying to me every single day for 3 years. That meant that every moment I thought we were happy was actually a lie. She told me about David. She told me that she had met him at a conference 3 years ago. They had started talking. It started as innocent conversation. It became more. They had an affair. They would meet in hotels when they were in the same city. They would text each other when they were apart. They would call each other when Jennifer was supposed to be at work late. They would communicate secretly behind my back. She told me that she had ended it. She said that the affair had lasted for 6 months. She said that she had broken it off because she felt guilty. She said that she didn't want to hurt me. She said that she realized that what she was doing was wrong. But then she said something that made my blood run even colder. She said that David had reached out to her a few weeks ago. She said that he had been following her life online. He had seen her wedding photos on Facebook. He had seen pictures of our house. He had seen pictures of our vacations. He had somehow found out about my upcoming inheritance. He had discovered that I was about to receive a very significant amount of money. And he had come to her with a proposal. He told her that he still loved her. He told her that he wanted to be with her. He told her that he had a plan. He told her that they could take the money. He told her that I could transfer the funds to him. He told her that they could run away together and start a new life. He told her that they could have the life that they had always dreamed about. Jennifer said that at first she refused. She said that she told him absolutely not. She said that she was married. She said that she loved me. She said that she wasn't going to help him steal my money. But then he started pressuring her. He said that if she didn't help him, he would tell me about the affair. He said that he would destroy my marriage anyway. He said that if she wasn't going to be with him, then she might as well help him take the money. She was terrified. She was manipulated. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know who to turn to. So she did the only thing she could think of. She went to the police. She told them everything. She told them about the affair. She told them about David's proposal. She told them about his threats. She told them that she wanted to cooperate with the authorities. The police came to our house that night. They wanted to talk to me. They wanted to hear my side of the story. They wanted to know if I had known about the affair. They wanted to know if I had known about the conspiracy. When I told them that I had only just learned about all of this, they believed me immediately. They could see the shock and the betrayal on my face. They could see that I was telling the truth. But they also told me something that changed everything. They told me that David Martinez was not just some random criminal. They told me that David was connected to some very serious people. They told me that David's uncle was a man named Vincent Martinez. And Vincent Martinez was known to be involved in organized crime in Chicago. Vincent Martinez was known to be involved in racketeering and extortion and money laundering. Vincent Martinez was a very powerful man, a very dangerous man. I immediately hired a criminal defense attorney. His name was Frank Sullivan. Frank was a serious man with gray hair and very intense dark eyes. He had represented criminals and victims alike. He understood the stakes of what we were dealing with. He told me to be very careful. He told me that Vincent Martinez would not take kindly to his nephew being arrested for trying to defraud me. He told me that there might be retaliation. He told me that I needed to be vigilant. He told me that I needed to protect myself. Over the next few weeks, I cooperated fully with the police. I gave them everything they asked for. I signed documents. I made statements. I allowed them to search my house. I allowed them to look at my financial records. I allowed them to access my email accounts. I wanted David Martinez to go to prison. I wanted justice. But then, about a week after David's arrest, something unexpected happened. I was in my office at TechCore Solutions when I received an unexpected visitor. A man walked in without being announced. He was tall, maybe 6'2". He was well dressed in an expensive suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. He had kind eyes and a gentle smile. He introduced himself as Vincent Martinez, David's uncle. My heart immediately started racing at dangerous speeds. I knew who he was. I knew what he was capable of. I was terrified, but I tried to hide it. I tried to stay calm. I tried to act like I wasn't absolutely petrified. Vincent sat down in my office chair without asking permission. He made himself comfortable. He said, "Marcus, I understand that my nephew has gotten himself into some legal trouble. I understand that you've decided to cooperate with the authorities. I understand that you're planning to testify against him in court. I understand that you want to see him go to prison." He paused. He looked me in the eye. "I'm here to ask you to reconsider that decision." I didn't say anything. I was too scared to speak. My throat had gone completely dry. I couldn't find any words. Vincent continued speaking. He said, "David made a mistake. He let his emotions get the better of him. He fell in love with a woman and he did some things that he shouldn't have done. But at the end of the day, he's family. And I take care of my family. I protect my family. I make sure that my family is okay. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that you drop the charges. I'm thinking that you tell the police that you've changed your mind. I'm thinking that you and I come to some kind of financial arrangement. And in exchange, I will make sure that you never have any trouble from me or my organization again." "What if I don't?" I asked, my voice shaking noticeably. Vincent's smile faded. His eyes went cold. He said, "Then I'm afraid that things are going to become very difficult for you. Your wife is facing prison time. Your life has been turned upside down. You're going to spend years in court dealing with lawyers. You're going to spend millions of dollars on legal fees. You're going to spend countless hours dealing with this situation, and in the end, the outcome might not be in your favor anyway. Why put yourself through all of that? Why not just take the easy way out? Why not just let this go and move forward with your life? I stood up. I tried to sound more confident than I felt. I said, "Get out of my office." Vincent stood up slowly. He walked toward me. He stopped very close to me. Our faces were maybe 2 feet apart. He said very quietly, "You're making a huge mistake, Marcus. A huge mistake. I'm going to make sure that you regret this decision for the rest of your life. I'm going to make sure that you suffer for refusing to cooperate with me." Then he walked out. He walked out of my office like he owned the place, like he had just had a casual business conversation, like he hadn't just threatened my life. I immediately called Frank Sullivan. My hands were shaking so badly that I could barely dial his number. I told him what had happened. I told him everything that Vincent had said. Frank said that Vincent Martinez had just committed a federal crime. Frank said that the threat was a federal offense. Frank said that this visit was going to be very helpful in building a case against Vincent. Frank said to document everything and to report it to the FBI immediately. I did exactly that. I reported the incident to the FBI. I gave them a detailed account of everything that Vincent had said. I gave them a description of what he was wearing. I gave them the exact time that he had visited me. I gave them the exact words that he had used to threaten me. The FBI took it very seriously. They assigned agents to investigate. They started surveillance on Vincent Martinez immediately, but they also assigned protection to me. They said that I was at risk of retaliation. They said that I needed to be very careful. Over the next 2 weeks, I realized just how serious this situation was. I was being followed everywhere I went. There was a car behind me whenever I drove. There was someone watching my house. There were people watching my office. I was being intimidated. I was being threatened. I was being hunted. The police assigned protective services to me. They stationed officers at my house. They followed me when I went places. They made sure that nothing happened to me. They made sure that I stayed safe. But I was terrified nonetheless. I was living in fear every single day. I couldn't sleep at night. I would lie in bed and listen to every sound. I would jump at every noise. I was paranoid. I was anxious. I was scared. And then one night, someone broke into my house. I wasn't home at the time. I had gone to stay with a friend because I was too scared to stay alone. When I came back the next day to get some clothes and personal items, I found that my house had been ransacked. The front door had been forced open. Furniture had been overturned. Drawers had been pulled out. Papers had been scattered everywhere. But nothing was stolen. Nothing was missing. Everything of value was still there. This wasn't about stealing. This was about sending a message. This was about intimidation. And sure enough, there was a message. There was a message written on my kitchen wall in blood red spray paint. It said, "Drop the charges or die." That's when I knew that I couldn't stay in that house anymore. That's when I knew that this situation was much more serious than I had initially thought. That's when I knew that I was in real danger. Frank Sullivan helped me move out of the house. He helped me find a hotel that would let me check in under an assumed name. He arranged for private security. He made sure that I was protected at all times. I was given a security detail. There were guards following me everywhere. There were guards watching my hotel room. There were guards making sure that nothing happened to me. The FBI became very interested in Vincent Martinez after the break-in. They said that his actions constituted multiple federal crimes. They said that the intimidation campaign was a federal offense. They said that breaking into my house and leaving a death threat was a federal offense. They said that they had been investigating Vincent for years, and that this was the break they needed to finally build a solid case against him. 2 months after the break-in, the FBI arrested Vincent Martinez. They came to his house early in the morning with a warrant. They arrested him at about 6 a.m. before he even had a chance to have coffee. They arrested him on multiple federal charges, including racketeering, extortion, money laundering, and conspiracy. The charges carried sentences of up to 25 years in federal prison. They also arrested David Martinez again on new charges related to the intimidation campaign. They charged him with additional counts of extortion and conspiracy. The new charges added another 10 years to his potential sentence. Jennifer's situation was more complicated. She had cooperated with the authorities from the very beginning. She had decided to testify against both David and Vincent. She had provided evidence. She had told the authorities everything that she knew. In exchange, the prosecutors offered her a plea deal. She agreed to plead guilty to conspiracy and fraud. She received a sentence of 5 years in federal prison. The trial lasted 2 months. The courtroom was packed with media. Local news channels were covering the case. Some national news outlets were also covering it. I was the subject of numerous news stories. Some people sympathized with me. Some people thought that I should have just paid David off. Some people thought that I was stupid for not seeing the affair earlier. Some people blamed me for not being a better husband. Some people thought that Jennifer was the real victim. But I didn't care what people thought anymore. I cared about justice. I cared about making sure that these people faced consequences for what they had done. I cared about making sure that they couldn't hurt anyone else. I cared about making sure that Vincent Martinez and his organization were stopped. The trial itself was a showcase of overwhelming evidence. The prosecution presented emails between Jennifer and David discussing the plan in detail. The prosecution presented bank records showing payments made by Vincent to David. The prosecution presented recordings of phone calls where Vincent threatened me. The prosecution presented testimony from other men who had been targeted by David in similar schemes over the years. Some of these men had paid David off. Some had fled the country. One man had been beaten so severely that he had to spend time in the hospital. The prosecution presented testimony from FBI agents who had been investigating Vincent's organization for years. They presented evidence of racketeering. They presented evidence of money laundering. They presented evidence of extortion. They presented evidence of organized crime. The defense tried to argue that David had been manipulated by Vincent. The defense tried to argue that Jennifer had been a willing participant and should bear more of the blame. The defense tried to argue that the intimidation campaign had been exaggerated. The defense tried to argue that there was not enough evidence to convict on some of the charges. But none of these arguments held up under scrutiny. The evidence was overwhelming. The guilt was clear and undeniable. On the final day of the trial, the jury deliberated for only 4 hours. They came back with guilty verdicts on all counts for both David and Vincent. David Martinez was convicted of fraud, extortion, conspiracy, and intimidation. He was convicted on all counts. Vincent Martinez was convicted of racketeering, extortion, money laundering, and conspiracy. He was convicted on all counts. The judge sentenced David Martinez to 15 years in federal prison. The judge said that David's crimes were serious and that he posed a danger to society. The judge said that David had preyed on vulnerable people. The judge said that David had destroyed families. The judge said that David deserved to spend a significant portion of his remaining life in prison. The judge sentenced Vincent Martinez to 25 years in federal prison. The judge said that Vincent's crimes were particularly egregious because of the intimidation campaign and because of his role as a leader in an organized crime organization. The judge said that Vincent had terrorized innocent people. The judge said that Vincent had destroyed lives. The judge said that Vincent deserved to spend a very long time in prison. The judge said that Vincent should spend his remaining years thinking about the damage that he had caused. Jennifer's sentencing came a few weeks later. The judge acknowledged that she had cooperated with the authorities. The judge acknowledged that she had been manipulated by David. The judge acknowledged that she had made a difficult decision to turn state's evidence. But the judge also said that she had made a conscious choice to participate in the conspiracy. She had actively helped David plan how to manipulate me. She had actively helped him research me and understand my vulnerabilities. She had actively helped him devise a plan to steal my inheritance. The judge sentenced her to 5 years in federal prison. As Jennifer was led away from the courtroom in handcuffs, she looked back at me. There was regret in her eyes. There was sorrow. There was desperation. But I felt absolutely nothing. I had already grieved my marriage. I had already let go of the person I thought she was. She was a stranger to me now. She was someone who had betrayed me in the most fundamental way possible. After the trial ended, after the verdict was read, I met with Mr. Hayes again. He told me that my inheritance was completely protected. The money was mine, all $28 million. The courts had affirmed that. The legal system had confirmed that. There were no claims against it. There were no competing beneficiaries. The money was safe and secure. It was all mine. I should have felt happy. I should have felt relieved. I should have felt vindicated, but I felt empty. I had $28 million and I was completely alone. I had won the legal battle, but I had lost my marriage. I had won justice, but I had lost my peace of mind. I had won money, but I had lost my faith in people. I had won victory, but it felt like defeat. I moved out of the hotel and into a new house. Not the house that I had bought with Jennifer. A completely different house. A house that I had found after the trial ended. A house that I had no memories in. A house that represented a fresh start. I furnished it slowly. I painted the walls. I installed new appliances. I created a space that was just for me. A space where nothing could touch me. A space where I could hide from the world. But even in this new house, I couldn't escape my thoughts. I kept replaying the trial in my mind. I kept replaying my conversations with Vincent. I kept replaying the night I discovered that Jennifer had been cheating on me. I was haunted by all of it. I was traumatized by all of it. I started seeing a therapist. Her name was Dr. Rebecca Martinez. She was a trauma specialist who worked with victims of crimes and betrayals. She had been recommended to me by Frank Sullivan. She helped me process what had happened. She helped me understand that the betrayal was not my fault. She helped me understand that I had been manipulated by people who were extremely skilled at manipulation. She helped me understand that I could heal from this. She helped me understand that I could recover and move forward. It took 6 months of therapy before I started to feel human again. It took 6 months before I stopped having nightmares about Vincent standing over me with his cold eyes. It took 6 months before I could walk into a room without immediately scanning for threats. It took 6 months before I stopped jumping at every knock on the door. It took 6 months before I started to think about the future instead of dwelling on the past. During this time, I made an important decision. I decided that I didn't want to go back to my old life. I decided that I didn't want to work at TechCore Solutions anymore. I decided that I didn't want to live a normal, ordinary life. I wanted my life to have meaning. I wanted to make a difference in the world. I wanted to turn my pain into purpose. I quit my job at TechCore Solutions. I told my boss that I was resigning effective immediately. I told him that I appreciated the opportunity to work there, but that I needed to move on to something more meaningful. I established a foundation. I called it the Marcus Chen Foundation for Financial Crimes Awareness. The foundation focuses on educating people about the types of schemes that are used by criminals like David Martinez. The foundation works with law enforcement to identify and stop criminal operations before they destroy more lives. The foundation provides support and resources to victims of financial crimes and organized crime. I funded the foundation with $5 million from my inheritance. I put together a board of directors. I hired experienced staff. I developed educational programs. I developed victim support services. I worked with the FBI and local law enforcement. The work is meaningful. It gives me a sense of purpose. It helps me sleep at night knowing that I'm doing something positive with my inheritance. My Uncle Richard left me his fortune so that I could live a good life. But more importantly, I believe that he left me his fortune so that I could help other people. So that I could make a difference. So that I could use my pain and my experience to prevent other people from going through what I went through. I still think about Jennifer sometimes. I still wonder what her life is like now. She's been in prison for 3 years. She'll be eligible for parole in 2 more years. I hope that she's learning something from this experience. I hope that she's reflecting on the choices she made. I hope that when she gets out, she does better. I hope that she rebuilds her life. I hope that she finds peace. But I don't think I could ever forgive her. The betrayal was too deep. The conspiracy was too calculated. The lying was too extensive. These are not things that can be easily forgiven or forgotten. I have forgiven her in the sense that I have let go of the rage and the anger. But forgiveness in the sense of trusting her again or having a relationship with her, that will never happen. David Martinez is in a federal prison in Michigan. He has 12 more years on his sentence. He's not getting out early. He's not getting another trial. His conviction is final. He's going to spend a significant portion of his life in prison. And he deserves that. He deserves to pay for what he did. He deserves to spend years thinking about the lives he destroyed. Vincent Martinez is in a federal prison in Illinois. He has 20 years left on his sentence. He's in his 60s now. It's unlikely that he'll ever get out of prison. He's probably going to die there. And I think that's justice. I think that's what he deserves. I think that's appropriate punishment for a man who terrorized innocent people, for a man who led an organized crime operation, for a man who tried to destroy my life. As for me, I've rebuilt my life. I've created a new identity for myself. I'm no longer the naive tech engineer who trusted people too easily. I'm no longer the heartbroken husband who thought that his marriage was perfect. I'm a survivor. I'm a fighter. I'm someone who has been through hell and came out the other side. The $28 million has been a blessing and a curse. It's given me the opportunity to do meaningful work. It's given me the freedom to pursue my passions. But it's also been a constant reminder of the betrayal. It's also been a constant reminder of what I lost. But I've learned to live with that. I've learned to accept that some things in life are complicated. Some things don't have easy answers. Some pain never fully goes away. But you can learn to live with it. You can learn to transform it into something positive. You can learn to use your pain to help other people. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for taking the time to hear about my experience. Thank you for allowing me to share my trauma and my recovery with you. If you've been betrayed by someone you trusted, if you've been manipulated by someone you loved, if you've had to rebuild your life from the ashes of what was destroyed, I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to know that recovery is possible. I want you to know that healing is possible. I want you to know that you can come out the other side of this stronger than you were before. The pain you feel right now is real. The betrayal you experienced is real. The trauma is real. But it doesn't have to define your entire life. It doesn't have to control your future. You have the power within you to heal. You have the power to rebuild. You have the power to create a new life that is even better than the life you had before. Comment below and let me know your story. I read every single comment. I respond to as many as I can. I'm here to listen. I'm here to support. I'm here to help you understand that you're not the only one who has experienced this kind of pain. You're not the only one who has experienced betrayal. You're not the only one who has had to rebuild from nothing. Subscribe to my channel if you found value in this story. Hit the like button if this resonated with you. Share this video with anyone who might benefit from hearing this story. Share it with someone who needs to know that they're not alone. Share it with someone who is going through a similar situation. The Marcus Chen Foundation is always looking for new ways to help people. If you'd like to learn more about the foundation, if you'd like to support our mission, if you'd like to volunteer, please visit our website. Every contribution helps us continue our work. Every donation helps us reach more people. Every volunteer hour helps us make a difference. I also want to say something to anyone who is currently involved in organized crime, anyone who is currently involved in schemes to defraud people, anyone who is currently involved in criminal activity. Stop. Stop right now. You think that you're going to get away with it. You think that nobody will catch you. You think that you're smarter than everyone else. You're not. The law enforcement community is very good at what they do. They will catch you. And when they do, you will face serious consequences. I also want to say something to anyone who is in a relationship, anyone who suspects that their partner might be cheating, anyone who has noticed changes in their relationship. Don't ignore the warning signs. Have the difficult conversation. Demand honesty. Demand transparency. Demand the truth. I ignored the warning signs in my marriage. If I had addressed the distance earlier, if I had had hard conversations with Jennifer earlier, if I had demanded the truth earlier, maybe things would have turned out differently. Maybe my marriage could have been saved. But I can't change the past. I can only learn from it and move forward. I'm grateful for what my therapist taught me. If you're struggling, please consider seeing a therapist. Getting help is a sign of strength. Getting help means that you're committed to healing. The work that the Marcus Chen Foundation does is very important to me. We've helped hundreds of people. We've worked with law enforcement to stop criminal operations. But we still have so much more work to do. There are still so many people who need help. To my Uncle Richard, wherever you are, I want to say thank you. Thank you for leaving me your fortune. I'm using your money to make a difference. I'm using your money to help people. I'm using your money to fight crime. To Dr. Rebecca Martinez, my therapist, I want to say thank you. Thank you for helping me heal. Thank you for guiding me through the darkest period of my life. Thank you for helping me understand that healing is possible. To Frank Sullivan, my attorney, I want to say thank you. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for fighting for me. Thank you for helping me achieve justice. To the FBI agents who investigated Vincent Martinez, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for bringing criminals to justice. Thank you for protecting innocent people. And to all of you watching this, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being here. You matter. Your presence matters. Your support matters. This is Marcus Chen signing off. This is the end of my story for now. But it's not the end of my life. My life is just beginning. I have so much more to do. I have so much more to accomplish. I have so much more to give. If you've been betrayed, if you've been hurt, if you've had your world turned upside down, remember this. You are stronger than you think. You are more resilient than you realize. You can survive this. You can heal from this. You can build a new life that is even better than the life you had before. Stay strong, stay vigilant, stay safe. And remember, the most powerful thing you can do after being hurt is to help someone else who's been hurt. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'll continue to do for the rest of my life. This is Marcus Chen. And I'm going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. We're survivors. We're fighters. We're warriors. We're going to get through this.